Today we are going to talk about the power of without and informality. So first I'm going to present about the power of without. I'm going to give a framework of what is informality and some work that we have done in the group. And then Andres, you'll know Andres from last week. He's going to present about some of his work in Lomas de Centinela in Mexico, and sensors and water. And then Yorin, our master student from the group, she's going to present her work about e-waste in Accra, in Africa. So, and it's really important to pay close attention, to three presentations, but mostly to Andres and Yorin, because the assignment today is going to be more related to these two locations. Okay, so I'm going to start a little bit talking about the power of without and why this name is related to informality. So this is an initiative that we named like this a few years ago with Norman Foster, Nicholas Negroponte, Ken Larson, and other experts from MIT. And the objective of this initiative is to find new lightweight solutions, decentralized technologies for these rapidly urbanizing communities. And why? Because you all know that by 2050, the world is moving towards urbanization. So the UN expects almost 70% of the world's population is going to be living in urban areas. And this 1/3 of the global population, the 3.5 billion of people, is going to be living in informal communities. So if we use conventional infrastructure, as we do it nowadays, like centralized and complex, the cost will exceed the combined annual GDP of China, US, and Europe. And the 90% of this urbanization is going to be mostly in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. So it is clear that we need to find new, fully distributed solutions, low-cost strategies to provide these communities with water, energy, sanitation, and other basic resources. So when we start to look into these strategies, we have to look into different themes and different topics to address these different challenges. So, for example, power without grids. How can we produce solar or community scale fusion to provide power for homes, mobility, and food production, to be localized? Water without pipes. How can we collect water, purify it, and recycle at the scale of a household? Sanitation without sewers. How can we recycle human waste at the scale of a toilet? Mobility without roads, like using ultralight autonomous vehicles. How can we move goods? Housing without construction, imagine growing a shelter and assemble it without any conventional materials. Communication without carriers. How can we give internet and phone services to these remote areas? Economy without currency, using local tokens and promote entrepreneurship to build community wealth. Food without soils, produce food near consumption point, using hydroponics or other type of technologies. So that's why we call it the power of without, no? So this is a new topic for us, for the city science, because we are used to work with cities, more formal urban areas. But when we look into these rapidly urbanizing communities, we are not the experts. We just want to learn and understand informality. So when we started to look into these communities, we look into Young Habitat to start mapping where are these located, how many are they, how many people live in these communities, and we just found out that Habitat officially just only have 200 informal settlements localized. So here we see another challenge, that there is no data about these communities. So we started to understand, okay, so where should we look into this data? Another challenge is like, okay, so informality. But in every country, it's called in a different name, like we have slums, informal community, human settlements, favelas. So it was very difficult to find data because in every place it's called different. Because also in some countries it doesn't exist the word of informality or the sense of being informal. So we did an exercise in the group. We have like 14 different nationalities in the group. So we asked different people how these communities are called in a country. So we list them here, and you can see like for example, in Turkey is slums, but then in Brazil is called favela because of a tree that is grow in the hills of Brazil. So it's like each name has also like a meaning, and that's super interesting. So all these definitions, we put them in a word club, and the word that was popping up was like a neighborhood. So here we understood that these informal communities are part of the city. So because normally we talk about these informality communities, so we look them like they are like not like part of the city, but we are wrong. They are part of the city, and this is like very, very important. So we also looked into the official definition of what young habitats have, and since the slums are not like homogeneous, not all the slum dealers suffer from the same degree of deprivation. So for example, the young habitat, you have to, so the definition of slums depends on the degree of deprivation that has, and how many of these 5 conditions it has. So we didn't like it at all. So we, as the city science, came up with another definition, focusing more of the social, the environmental, and the living conditions. Because some definitions, they talk about the lack of infrastructure, others the economic situation, others about the lack of tenure. So we wanted like one whole definition that could like to account all of it. Also, we created a taxonomy of taxonomies. Like it's like a classification of these communities. So it's a non-traditional methodology that groups like different indicators and different definitions. So we created like 3 big groups, taking into account the 3 scales, like the site, the architecture, and the populace, and each big group has different indicators. And the objective of creating this taxonomy was to, if we can group the communities and find like common characteristics, when we find different solutions or different technologies, we can address like a big group of communities at the same time. So for example, site was more focused on the origin of the settlement, the geography, what kind of vulnerability it has. The architecture was more focused about how is the house, the material was built, the kind of infrastructure and the level of infrastructure and the density. And then the populace was about the people, the quality of life, if they have jobs in the community, if they have formal or informal jobs, and also like what is the demography in these communities. Okay, so after like understanding the challenge of informality, we need to find the data. So for that, we created an informality crowdsourced database. It was online. So this tool was created for people working with communities, like NGOs, like local leaders, like people also like working very closely with the community, because we're the people that had the more data. So you could go to the website. We had like a survey here. You could localize the settlement. You could draw the area, so also like was calculating the area and the density of the people. And And also that the taxonomy that I just showed was part of the survey. So this taxonomy was listed here, so people could like choose what characteristics the community had, and then you could like map these communities there and click on each of them and see all the characteristics in there. We also created like another very similar to Cityscope tool for informality. So imagine that you have like a new technology that you want to test, so you could like drop this technology like solar panels, so you could put it in a community and see what's the impact, like how many people will impact, how much energy, and also what's the impact in the like environmental and more social indicators. And then after gathering all this data, we also did some research about what technologies and what solutions were up there in academia phase, in companies, in private companies. So we team up with the Norman Foster Foundation and Nicolas Negroponte, another MIT expert. We had like very like weekly meetings almost with them. So we worked in a technologies toolkit. So all these technologies that we were founding, we tried to put them like in a kind of document. And this document, we were doing workshops with them. We did workshops with the community in the City Science Summits in previous years. So it was very valuable. And some of the technologies that we were showing in this toolkit, for example, I'm gonna go very quickly because we found like a lot of technologies. I could stay here forever, but I'm gonna just mention some of them to give you like an idea of what type of technologies we were looking for. So for example, for energy, we were looking to like carbon nanotube antennas. They were very efficient, like 80% efficient, and comparing to the panels that there are nowadays the panels, they have 20% efficiency, so these carbon nanotubes antennas were really promising. Then also for energy, we have the nuclear microreactor that could be delivered with a truck, and then had like fume antennas, so it could give energy to like a full community in a community scale. Also, we have like smart water filters that could like clean the water. Also, for collecting water, we have these water towers that they can water from the fog and the ambient humidity. They could collect, and also this could work as a community space and social space. For sanitation, we have the Bill Gates Solid. I don't know if you guys have heard of them. So transform waste into fertilizers, and they don't require water or sewers. And then we have also this idea of, imagine that you could genetically modify plants, for example, bamboos, and you could like plant a seed, and it grows like a shape of a house with all the resources that you want. So it was like a concept that we were exploring, and also DARPA is working on this, and it's super interesting. Also, we have another technology forming human waste into food, like some technologies they use in the space. So imagine that these technologies that we were thinking, we could like put them all together in a hub or like an infrastructure seed. It's deployed in a community, and it can give energy, water, and other social resources to a whole community. So that's also we were exploring. This is not a real picture, it's a AI generated picture, but this is an idea, no? To having like a social space in the middle of the community with markets, and also with, imagine that we have like a small nuclear reactor there, some panels, some tanks to gather water, but also there are some questions that we can discuss later. But this is like one of the concepts that we were talking. Then I'm gonna go very quickly. I did some exercise, so how much water we will need, how much energy we will need if we want to deploy this infrastructure sheet in a community. So we did some numbers, how much space do we need. I imagine that we could deliver this hub basketball court size or a soccer field size. So how much of these technologies we could use and how many people will benefit from this. And then also I did very quickly like a rapid diagram. So the yellow point being like this community hub, and then having these smaller hubs more distributed around the community. Okay, so after doing this research and looking into these technologies, we understood that having the community involved is the most important part of this. So that's why we are collaborating with the University of Guadalajara and more specifically working with Lomas de Centinela in Mexico. We went there, we traveled there, we did workshops with the community, with local leaders. We listened to them, what are their challenges, what they need, trying to understand. And also we did some semesters for this class in 2019, focused most about like settlements without, trying to find technologies and solutions specifically to Lomas. One semester was most focused on Lomas, so we put in contact the students and the people in the community, and the other semester was more open to the students to choose where they want to work. Some of the projects that they have, for example, is these panels on the roofs of Africa in a small town where fishing is the main source of food. So with the light, the panel will open and gather, filter water, and then we have this water tank. Actually, this project is from Andres when he was a student. So it was it's like a three-part unit, and it's capable of farming fishes and growing algae by processing and extracting nutrients from the organic waste. And then also we have these public gardens, and we meet with the community, we talk with them almost weekly, and we can see that just listening, we are helping to the community. They are creating groups, creating gardens, doing activities for kids, like painting murals. Also, we work in like safety issues with the community. Also, in Lomas de Centinela, there is like a forest, and in Lomas de Centinela, they created like a group of firefighters that they were like getting trained in case there is a fire, and also this group, they traveled to Mexico, around Mexico and Canada to be more to have more training. So that's one of the advantages of like collaborating with them. So I mean, working with the community is the most important part of it. So we are working with Lomas, and then also we are working in Costanera in Chile, in Concepción, also within informal community. So yeah, I don't know if anyone has any question, but if not, I'm gonna give the word to Andres and then Jorin. So Andres is gonna present more about his work in Lomas and the water sensors, and then Jorin in Accra. And it's really important to pay attention to this presentation because the assignment is gonna be related to these locations. But just I wanted to like give like a framework of what is informality and what the general overview of what it is. Okay.